Welcome back to my channel and Happy New Year. I can't believe this is the first time I've been fishing this year in 2025. Believe it or not, my last session was back in September in France. And yeah, I can't believe how quickly these last few months have gone. No real reason other than being quite busy and just deciding to take time out relaxing more over Christmas and everything. So yeah, not been on the bank at all, so really been looking forward to this session at Norton Disney, and I've decided to go on to Hodgetts Lake. Hodgetts Lake is a lake I've never been on before, and on the drive down here, you know how it is, you go through in your head what lake you fancy, and I kind of had an open mind, but ideally I wanted to go on one of the easier lakes. I fancied either Hodgetts or Stocks, but I was also going to go with an open mind, see what's available on the other lakes, see if there's any of the favourable pegs free, and yeah, and I arrived at midday. Believe it or not, I arrived yesterday. Yesterday was Tuesday the 4th of February, and I arrived to literally a very empty complex. On arrival, driving down the main track to the ticket office, there was about 3 people on billies. I think there was 4 on Petit's, which I think was the busiest lake here, on like yesterday it was. Went in the ticket office, spoke to Ewan, and just the usual, but he said it has been fishing really hard, the whole complex, this last week or so. So there's been the odd one coming out of like the likes of Hodgetts, but not many, not to its normal sort of standard. So it's just the weather's been a little bit up and down lately, but to be fair, we have got some warm weather during the day, so it's getting up to like 10, 11, 12 degrees during the day at the moment, but then it's dropping right down to 1 degree, 0 sort of during the night, and I think that's just affecting the feeding of the fish. But without going into all that business, yeah, I had a walk round. There was literally about 2 people on Turners, so Turners was really inviting, you know. I was tempted to jump on it. Swims 1 and 2 on Turners were free, and I've always fancied swim 2 because I know it's a popular swim, and there's that bar so far out, and Rob Burgess was doing well on there a few weeks ago. So that was tempting. I nearly put my bucket down, but then I thought, well, what if someone jumps into swim 1? And there are people who do that, even though the venues are quiet, they'll still jump in right next door to you, because it is a double swim. So I thought I better not, because I wouldn't like to be trying to vlog when there's someone just a few feet away. So I had a walk round. There was no one on Holden's, but I didn't fancy Holden's. Holden's is a hard lake at the best of times, never mind when the place is fishing hard. Yeah, you're up against it on there. And approached Hodgetts, and I couldn't believe it. It was an empty lake. This is normally the busiest lake here, and it has some incredible fishing. It's got a lot of fishing. It's a very popular lake, and in the summer you struggle to get on here, and I couldn't believe I had it to myself. So I took in mind the wind. It was really windy yesterday. It was like 35-40 mile an hour winds on arrival, and then they were dying down on the evening, and I knew all about that, but I really didn't want to be facing into the wind. But swim 6 on Hodgetts, it had the wind going from your left to your right, going into that right hand margin, and I knew the wind was going to be dying down later on, but I just thought it doesn't look a bad swim to be in. So yeah, I thought give it a go. So I started setting up in swim 6 on Hodgetts, and it really took me forever to get sorted yesterday, hence why I've now only just got the camera out, and it's Wednesday. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning, and this is the first time I've got the camera out to speak into it. So I've had no fish up to now, but I'll tell you how it's all unravelled. So it took me a long time, and it always does, to be fair. I don't know, I'm just one of them people where it seems to take me forever to get set up. But when I'm on a long session, I do like to spend my time and having the marker rod out and really finding out what's out there. So I probably had my marker rod out for at least an hour, just casting all over in the area, finding out what the depths are, what's out there. It's all fairly even out in front of this swim. It's all really between 11 foot and about 14 foot, from what I found, and that's from like, I don't know how close in, maybe only about 6 wraps in, all the way out to like about 16 wraps. They're the sort of ranges I was leading about at, and they're all very similar. And I thought, right, okay, I know zigs do well on this lake, and I thought, right, I'm definitely gonna have one on a zig and then 2 in a similar area, and I'll start with just mesh bags, just a mesh bag of pellet nicked on a spinner rig. So I decided on an area for my zig which was more to the left of me. I was sort of aiming just to the right of swim 5. That was only at about, well, it was at 13.5 wraps, and it was in 14 foot of water. Now, because yesterday was all a bit of a rush and I was wary of it getting dark, I just put a fixed zig out for the night, which was at 4 foot. That didn't do anything, and that was in 14 foot of water, like I mentioned. So maybe a bit too not high enough off the bottom, who knows. But anyway, that didn't do anything. And then my other 2 rods, I was humming and hawing where to put them, and I thought, well, is there any point in casting in the middle of the lake if it's all the same depth closer in? I thought, just make life easy for yourself. So I fished relatively close in with the 2 rods that were on the bottom, so they were at 40 yards, 10 wraps. Like I said, it's in about 12-13 foot of water. Didn't put any bait out, and yeah, like I say, maybe it was just well, I've got to be honest, I was really rusty yesterday. I think because I've not been fishing. It's amazing what you can forget. I actually had to YouTube how you tie a Palomar knot when I was trying to tie a swivel on, so you can call me a noddy in the comments, it's absolutely fine. But yeah, I was certainly rusty yesterday, so that's one of the reasons why it seemed to take me all day to get set up. So I eventually had all 3 rods in the water for about 5 o'clock, and it was getting dark then. In the meantime, while all that was going on, I was too busy getting set up. Another angler walked past and said hello, and carried on walking around. And as his back was to me, and I sort of looked, and I thought, I'm sure that was Rob Burgess, because I've met him before. I know what he sounds like. And then it wasn't until later on in the evening I went on Facebook on my phone, and he'd put a story on, like he does his reels or whatever they're called. And yeah, and he ended up being in the swim just next to me. He was in swim 7, and within 5 minutes of him casting out, he was into a fish. So that's the difference between a professional angler and a noddy like me. He's a good angler, and he's a really nice guy. So I popped over just to say hello to him this morning, and he was playing a fish. So I didn't want to bother him while he was playing a fish, so I just said I'll speak to him later. But yeah, he's some man. He's a busy guy, very busy with the fishing, and then he's always busy trying to do his social media stuff. But fair play to him, he's had 4 fish up to now. So when I did briefly speak to him, he's caught 2 on a zig. He's fishing in around 18 foot of water. He's had 2 on a zig, but the zig was only 2 foot high, which really surprised me. I thought he meant 10 foot, but he was like, no, 2 foot. So 18 foot of water and catching on a 2 foot zig, that's pretty impressive. You'd expect it to be a lot higher in the water than that, so I've got to bear that in mind. And he's had 2 on solid bags, but he did put bait over the top. But even like you and the bailiff, he said I wouldn't be putting any bait out. He said I wouldn't even be getting your spawn rod out. But I mean, Rob's a different kettle of fish, but he has put bait out and he's caught over that bait. So yeah, so the way I look at things now is I've been here for almost, well, I've not been fishing for 24 hours, but I've done the night. There's been no action. I've now changed my zig to an adjustable zig. I shortened the hook length to 2 foot, and at the moment I'm fishing with it at 7 foot high in the 14 foot of water, so I'm right in the middle. Now I'm just going to give it a couple of hours, and I'm either going to go deeper or shallower with it. I'm just going to have to play around with it until I try and get one. So if it means I go deeper today or shallower tomorrow, so be it, whatever. So I am here for 3 nights, so I've done 1 night already, so I am off Friday morning. And yeah, I've decided, because I've got another 48 hours to go, I'm going to put bait out over the top of my 2 mesh bags. But what I did decide on doing was I thought, I know Rob's fishing towards the middle of the lake, and I just thought, yeah, I'll copy him. So instead of fishing only 40 yards out, I'm going to fish at 60 yards out, which is 15 wraps on my 12 foot rods. So a comfortable cast of 15 wraps with a little PVA mesh bag nicked on the hook with pop-ups. And I think the plan is I'm going to try and bring them in every 2 hours, and I'm just going to keep changing the hook bait to different colours and just keep going and just try and nick a bite. So that's a plan. So with me bait wise, I've got the bag of frozen boilies what I brought back from France last year that I didn't use. So I brought 2 bags back with me. One was the what's it called, the nutty one, tiger nut, that's the one, and the other one was like a fish meal one. So I brought the 5 kilo of the tiger nut with me. Now they might be really good quality, these boilies, they might have all really good ingredients in them, but I'm not keen on them. They're just too hard for my liking. Like the outer coating they're just like marbles. And yes, that's after I've defrosted them. So what I've done last night is a couple of days ago I poured out 1 kilo roughly into an empty bait bucket. So they started defrosting about 3 days ago. And then last night I still wasn't happy, they're just rock solid. Like, yeah, I don't know if it's just whatever it is. Anyway, I'm not going to slate them, but so what I did is on the way down to Norton Disney I called in at a supermarket and needed a couple of things, but one of the things I thought I'd buy was some condensed milk. I've seen it done before where if you're using a sort of like a bird food type of boilie, so it's like more of a sweeter type boilie, you know, like your Manila type. If you pour something like evaporated milk or condensed milk, it can sort of add to that sort of similar flavour. So yeah, long story short, I put some condensed milk in my pan, boiled it, and I poured that over the top of these boilies that were meant to be thawed. And then I also boiled the kettle and poured some boiling hot water in it, and then quickly put the lid on, and they've been soaking overnight. So I'm hoping that they've softened up nicely, and I'm going to get my spom rod out and get these boilies in the water. So it's boilie only that's going in my spom. I'm not bothering with anything else. I know at this time of year it's very popular for people to like to use hemp and flaked maize and corn and all that business, and yeah, I'm sure it's probably a good idea, but on this session I'm just going to stick to the boilie and see how I get on. I'm hoping to be back here next week, so if I'm back next week then I might change my approach with what goes in my spom, but this session it's going to be boilie only. Let's get some of these boilies used up and hopefully get a fish on the bank. So a couple of things that's new with me, fishing wise. I have bought myself a van, which is something I've wanted to do for a while now, and I'm so pleased I've managed to do it. It just makes life so much easier for my fishing, and yeah, it's been a bit of a game changer for me. I did struggle getting it all in my Ford Focus, and yeah, I used to sort of mark the roof and everything by mistake, trying to get things out and put things in. So yeah, got myself a little van. I'm over the moon with it. It's a Vauxhall combo, and yeah, it's going really well. My other investment was something that I should have done years ago, and this is what I'm sat on right now behind me, and that's the Tracker bed chair. So I think the nickname is like they're a bed buddy or bed chair buddy, whatever you want to call them. But basically it's a chair that just sits on top of your bed chair, So you've got support during the day for when you just want to sit on your bed chair and not get a bad back, which is something that I have been suffering with of late. Yeah, unfortunately I'm quite a tall bloke, and I think over the years of just ducking when you're going into doorways and that, it does catch up with your back, and it was really starting to affect my back last year, and it got to the point where I was struggling quite a bit with when I was on the bank. After a few hours of sitting on my bed chair, my back would just be in bits, so I'd end up lying down on my bed chair during the day even though I didn't want to, and it was just to save my back. So yeah, should have done this a long time ago, but never mind, I've got one now, so I'm over the moon. So there we go. It's a thumbs up from me for this bed chair. It's a Tracker, not 100% on the model, but it was quite expensive, but that's because I've gone for all the padding, and I'm sure my back will be very grateful. So I think I paid about £150 from it from Angling Direct. You can get a lot cheaper chairs, but like I say, I wanted all the support and the padding, so I'm here in comfort, and when you're fishing for 2 or 3 nights at a time, I think it's very important to be comfortable. So these are the buoys in question. They've been soaking overnight with that condensed milk heated up, and then some heated water with a little feel. It's still very hard. I'm squeezing that as hard as I can. Ugh. Ugh. Can't even squeeze it in my hand. Yeah, I'm going to get these in the lake and use these up. I'm not impressed with these. Yeah, wouldn't be getting them again, but I only bought them because they were supplied by the lake in France. Far too hard for my liking, but let's get these in the water. Well, that didn't go too well. They hadn't softened to what I was hoping, and they were still like marbles, so really disappointed. It was recommended by the lake, as a lot of them are over in France. Use their house boilie. You can't see them week in, week out. Get used to them, feel confident feeding on it. No wonder I didn't catch anything all week. No, they're very poor quality as far as I'm concerned. They're far too hard. Might have all the right ingredients inside them, I don't know, but nah, I've never used anything like that before. Very disappointing. So I am going to get the rest of the boilies that I brought with me. I'm going to get them all crumbed up. I think that'll be the best thing for these carp, because I feel sorry for any carp that goes to try and eat one of those boilies. It's not that they're frozen, they are not frozen, they are fully thawed out, they've been heated up with hot water, you name it. They are just not very well made. So there we are. So yeah, I'm going to crumb up. I've got about another 4 kilo with me. That's all just going to get crumbed up, and I'll do the same. I'll get some hot condensed milk in there and some hot water, soften it as much as I can, and it's all going in the lake on this session, because I can't afford to sacrifice, you know, getting results when you come all this way and you pay the money to fish using cheap bait. No, I can't afford to do that, so I do have another 5 kilo of the fish meal boilie at home, and that'll be all getting crumbed up days in advance of my next session, and that'll be going in as well. So yeah, very disappointing. Paid a lot of money for that. I think it was about €45 for 5 kilo, and I bought about 30 kilo, as you do, thinking you're going to have it off in France. Wasn't the case. So yeah, very disappointing, but I'm going to make myself a brew. I've not had one since about 7:30. It's now about 10:30. Make myself a brew and get crumbing up, and then I will do some more spomming this afternoon. So there we go. I've got the 2 rods out at 15 wraps, little mesh bags on a spinner rig, and one still on a zig, roughly around 7 foot high off the deck. So I'm going to start playing around with that zig. I think I'm going to raise it. I know Rob's been catching 2 foot off the bottom, but I had a 4 foot zig during the night, and you'd have thought if they were that low they'd have had a go. So I'm going to raise it by 2 feet and make it about 9 foot, and then in a couple of hours time, if there's been no action, I'll raise it another 2 feet and go on and go on and go on. So there we are, that's the situation update. It's around 10:30 now, Wednesday morning. Got just under 48 hours to go, so a little bit of bait in the water, if you can call it bait. I feel guilty putting it in, it's absolutely terrible. I'm so sorry to the carp. But yeah, let's do a bit of chilling, get a brew on the go, and I'll do a bit of crumbing. So it's about 4:15 and the light is fading, so I thought I'd better do a nighttime message. So yeah, I've had my rods in the water now for getting on for 24 hours. Obviously it's all been quiet for myself. I've not seen anything come out on the lake today, not since I seen Rob Burgess catch one first thing at about 8:30. He might have had 1 or 2 during the day, I'm not too sure, but I can't see him from here. But for myself, I've put the majority of the boilies in, there's not much left. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to sit on my hands now, kind of done all I can. End of the day, it's winter fishing, you're always up against it, and the most important thing is just to enjoy your time on the bank. So that is my plan. So for the rest of this session, I am planning on kicking back, relaxing, and watching some movies on my tablet, and yeah, just chilling out and just enjoying being outside. As far as the weather goes, I took my winter suit off at about 11 o'clock this morning when it got up to about 8 degrees, as I was getting a bit warm, and I've just put it back on because the temperature's just starting to drop now. But I know I've mentioned it before in the past, these Tracker winter suits are really good. I'm lovely and cosy now, and you know, you can easily sit outside in the winter and still be nice and warm. So yeah, they're absolutely fantastic bits of kit. Been warm enough in the sleeping bag on a night time. I use the Fox Flatliner, and I have the sort of waterproof cover for that as well. So during the summer months, I don't even get in the sleeping bag, I just sleep under the waterproof cover. I find that's warm enough for me. Then in the winter I get inside the sleeping bag, and since I've upgraded to the Fox Flatliner sleep system, I've not needed to use a hot water bottle, which I did used to have to when I had the Tracker Big Snooze. Even though it's very highly rated, I found in the winter I needed a hot water bottle to keep warm, but not at the moment, not with this Fox Flatliner. It's an absolute fantastic bed chair and can highly recommend it. So enough of me waffling, there's not a lot happening fishing wise. I'm just going to kick back, relax. It did cross my mind earlier, should I maybe moved in the morning if nothing's happened, seeing as the complex is so empty, but there's no point. It's winter fishing, it's hard, and you've just got to accept that. So I'm going to sit back, be lazy, and just enjoy the rest of the session. I'll update you tomorrow or during the night if anything can happen. Well, good morning everyone. It's now Thursday morning, and yeah, the temperature dropped last night. My weather app was saying it was going to get down to 1 degree, but I think it got down into about -1. Woke up to just cat ice all over the lake, and everywhere was frozen, my bivvy and rods and reel and everything. That was a couple of hours ago now. It's brightening up a little bit, and hopefully we're going to get a little bit of sunshine to get all this melted away. But yeah, a couple of my friends are here. There's Hoover and Dyson. They've been visiting me frequently, and that was the actual reason why I lowered my rod tips last night, because they were trying to wipe me out. So I lowered the rod tips just so that they'd swim over my line rather than keep catching it over the legs. And I'm quite glad I did, because I woke up to, like I say, that thin layer of ice. And if there's ever ice, you really want your rod tips in the water so that all of your line is under the surface, for those that don't know. So yeah, not a lot to report really. I believe Rob Burgess, who was in the swim next door, another angler's just said he moved on to Stocks Lake yesterday afternoon. So yeah, there's been a couple more people arrive at this lake this morning, so I think there's only possibly the one swim free. I've not looked, which is the one that Rob vacated yesterday, but there might be someone in there, I don't know. So not a lot to report. I'm going to stick by what I'm doing. I don't see the point in moving to another lake for my final 24 hours. I just believe the way that the air pressure is at this moment in time, it's really just affecting the feeding spells of the carp. They're not really feeding, they're just swimming around in the layers, and even though most anglers have got adjustable zigs out there, changing the depths, we're really struggling to find them. So what might be the case is they're literally all shoaled up in one area of the lake, which you can sometimes see via drone footage, and they're literally just sat there close together trying to stay warm. So yeah, in these conditions, it's not the fact that it's cold that's affecting the feeding of the carp, it's the fluctuating temperatures. So yesterday it got up to about 10 degrees, 11 degrees during the day, and then that would normally kickstart feeding, but then it's dropping right down on the night, as you can see, and that's what the carp don't like. They like steady temperatures. So if it was staying at 3 degrees during the day and then dropping down to -1 in the night, that would actually be better fishing conditions than what it currently is. So yeah, conditions aren't great, but we're here. I'm comfortable, slept great last night. I know I keep banging the drum about the Fox Flatliner sleep system, but it's absolutely fantastic. It's like having a single bed. It's massive, and I'm a big lad, and it's massive, and I've just got the normal standard size. But yeah, it's been a game changer for me. And then obviously my tracker winter suit, if it wasn't for that, I'd be pretty cold. But no, I'm very comfortable, happy to be on the bank. Fishing's difficult, but winter fishing often is. So I'm just going to kick back and relax, and I won't be updating you throughout the day unless anything changes. But if anything, I've got these two to keep me entertained. Well, the fishing might not have been great these last couple of days, but I've been welcomed by the Swan family. Made me feel at home. Anyway, so it's getting on for 4 o'clock, so in about an hour we're going to be losing the light. So in all honesty, I've not touched these rods at all today. These two are on spinner rigs, and I'm confident that they're still going to be fishing effectively. Even if they've been picked up, they'll just reset themselves. And yeah, I didn't see the point in bringing them in and making any disturbance. And same with the Zig rod, all I've been doing is I've been changing the depth just by pulling line off to make it higher up in the water, or widen it in to go lower. So started off with 2 foot this morning, changed it to 4 foot later in the morning, then 6 foot, and I'm now at 8 foot. off the deck in about 14 foot of water. So yeah, it's one of those. Been trying all sorts. I've not seen anyone catch today, and yeah, it's been tough going, but never mind. These things happen, and winter fishing is tricky. So temperature wise, it has been a lot colder today than the previous couple of days. So I think it's been about 5 degrees at best today, where we were getting up to like 10-11 degrees the last couple of days during the day. So if anything, that'll only help things when it comes to the feeding of the carp. They just don't like the massive drop in temperatures. So if it's been at 5 degrees and it goes down to -1 or whatever tonight, then that's not a bad thing. And I see the temperatures over the next few days are going to be the same, so the feeding should improve over these next few days across the complex. They should start getting caught. So my plan tomorrow, my ticket is valid till 1 in the afternoon, but there's some things I'd really like to do when I'm at home tomorrow, so I'm going to be packing up early, and I want to be out the gate for 8 o'clock when it opens. And I want to get home, get sorted, get cleaned up, go get my hair cut and all that good stuff, and chill out. So yeah, been up against it this trip, but never mind. It's been good to be on the bank and just getting outside again. Looks like a possible blank, but never mind. But like I mentioned, I'm hoping to get back out next week. I'm not 100% on where I'm going to go. Possibly come back here. But I'll see. Right, I'll sign off for now. And hopefully be updating you with a fish later on, or if not, it'll be end of video in the morning. Well, as you can see, I'm in my van. Very unfortunate, nothing happened on this session. 3 nights on Hodgett, swim 6. It wasn't to be, but it is still very early in February. Temperatures are just all over the place, and I'm not surprised. Didn't see much come out at all. The only fish I'm aware of that was coming out was when Rob Burgess was on the lake, and once he departed, we didn't see any fish come out. I've left the lake this morning. There was 2 swims free, but I've left it just after 8 o'clock, so people are arriving. And yeah, it's been an enjoyable session. I really have enjoyed being back on the bank. It's been a while, and I'm also happy for myself that it's proved that even when temperatures do drop, I can still be comfortable and enjoy the session. I honestly think it's only really with the heavy wind and rain that seems to affect my winter sessions. So I think in any future sessions, as long as it's not planning on being stupidly windy or rain, I will definitely be giving winter fishing another go. Possibly next week, like I mentioned. Not sure exactly when or where yet, but I'm hoping to get out on the bank next week. Would I have done anything different? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. When I arrived, I was told by the bailiff, probably don't want to be putting any bait out. It's fishing really hard every lake, not a lot's coming out, just use bags. I started with that tactic, and then I kind of just fell into that trap of seeing Rob Burgess catch. Rob had put his first post on showing that he was doing his usual tactics, and he was showing his bucket of hemp, and it looked like he'd been fishing over bait, and I fell in that trap of putting a bit of bait out, and I think I probably killed my swim. So yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think this time of year you really just want to be fishing bags, whether that's solid bags or just casting little mesh bags out on rigs. I think that's the tactic. And I think in future what I'll be doing is I'll be literally winding in every hour on each rod and casting in just different areas of the lake just to try and find anything. I think sitting back with rods in the water for like 12 hours, 24 hours, it's just not really the thing to do at this time of year. So that's something I would definitely change. But other than that, like I say, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Really enjoyed the session. Thank you for watching if you've watched this far. I know my vlogs aren't very exciting, but they're real, and that's all I can say on that. But I'll see you again soon.